Okay, the next item on the agenda is the first selectmen's report. This is day 7 for me. So I'm learning slowly, but getting through it. And I thought I've had a lot of meetings set up and just beginning to get started on the process of being first selectman, which I've enjoyed very much so far. It's interesting and fun. But I thought what I would do is I have a report to read related to a couple of the issues that have come up in the last week or so. If you'd indulge me, that'd be okay. This is my report. At the August 1st, 2016 meeting, the previous Board of Selectmen voted unanimously that the board not accept the Billy Casper Golf proposal, as it would have shifted the losses from Billy Casper Golf to the town, which was unacceptable. With that non-renewal vote, it was understood that the existing contract with Billy Casper Golf expired on December 31st, 2016. On April 12th of 2017, then First Selectman Ellen Scalatar stated that, quote, "The property is open for walking, jogging, etc., but absolutely no golf." Hi, Phyllis.
Hi.
End quote. At the June 14th, 2017 board meeting, Ellen was very clear in stating that walking is permissible, bike riding is permissible, but bringing your own equipment and mowing the country club property is a form of trespassing and other violations. It puts whoever is doing it at risk and the town at risk, end quote. With respect to the country club property, we all understand that everyone is acting with good intentions. However, the town cannot allow people to cut grass or conduct similar activities on town property without permission of the Board of Selectmen. For example, the garden club sought and obtained permission to plant and maintain the beautiful gardens outside the town library and next to the gazebo on the green. The Boy Scouts have also come to ask permission for various activities on town land. While cutting grass may seem to be a simple matter, without the town's verification of appropriate insurance coverage, the town may incur liability for any injury to the person mowing the lawn, for any injury or property damage caused by that person, despite the best of his or her intentions to make the world a better place. This policy protects the town from financial risk and, more importantly, protects the safety of our citizens. It is the responsible and caring thing to do, in my opinion. Last Friday, I toured the entire grounds of the CCW property with Adam Parsons. He pointed out areas that are currently being mowed by the Parks Department personnel, as well as other areas that are now deliberately being left unmowed, where birds and other wildlife are nesting. In late June, former First Selectman Scalatar entered into a contract with environmental scientist William Moorhead, a consulting field botanist. He will be conducting a quote-unquote rapid biological and ecological assessment, which will include recommendations for future care of the property. He's expected to complete his evaluation by mid-August, and I will ask him to present his findings and recommendations at a public meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Tried to get him to see if he could come up. His date was August 15th, and we tried to see if he could increase it to August 1st, and he can't. So we're going to have to wait for that report. There are apparently 14 different species of birds nesting over there at this point. While we were over there, took some photos, which are up on a board in the corner. If you all have a copy of them, I thought it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of property. Personally, I'm not happy with the way it looks, but some people are happy with the way it looks. My steps, what I would like to propose: the Board of Selectmen will need to make decisions based on this environmental report, the recommendations of the Finance Director with input from the Parks Department and Adam, to determine what we want for the appearance of this property, both in the short and long term. The Board of Selectmen will determine the extent of work to be completed for the short term, meeting during this fiscal year, and what should be included for this purpose as part of the annual operating budget process for the longer term, meeting fiscal year 2018 to 19 and beyond. Let me be clear that this is a decision for the board and not for any one resident or residents of the town. As far as the long-term decisions for this property, I would hope that the Board of Selectmen remain open to evaluating other uses and offers that may arise. For now, let me be very clear that I'm committed to the use of this property for passive recreation under the same rules and regulations that are in effect on all other town-owned property. So now that I wrote this up, if anyone has some discussion items.
Well, there are a couple of things here. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the volunteerism. I think, we have a strong spirit of volunteerism in this town, and it really has improved the quality of life and also the safety of this town. And I don't think we can, on a technicality, dismiss the willingness of people to do things. My feeling is if there's a need and there are individuals who want to fulfill that need, we should find a way so that they can do it. Now, if this is a liability issue or if it's a training issue, it should be addressed and it should be overcome. And I think that's the first part of it.
Can I ask?
David, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mika. Go ahead.
I'm certainly not under the impression that anybody has done anything that would go against what you're saying. In other words, I completely agree with you. I don't know that there's been any communication or any discussion or anything at all that would dissuade somebody from being a volunteer or doing something. If I'm understanding what I heard correctly, it's more a matter of ask.
Well, we have
let's set it up and let's see what we can do.
We had this problem with this sort of ad hoc committee of one who decided to mow the country, some of the 18th green. And on a technicality, it's not right. I mean, I can't disagree with that assessment. But on the other hand, if it's a need, let's find a way to be able to do that safely. And if we need to get
Need meaning which item? Because there's certainly so many volunteer opportunities for that property. Meaning planting, weeding, flowers, but we have to have the people come to the Board of Selectmen, and we will, on a case-by-case basis, grant permission or not.
I understand that. I think it may not have been that well understood that you have to do that.
So wait a second, David, can I say something legally? And since I was the brunt of the criticism of asking someone who didn't have permission to stop, I think it's much more than a technicality. The board has, for generations, and as far as long as I've been here, which is 40 years, always had the ultimate say as to who gets to conduct activities on publicly owned properties. Tonight they came for the Palapalooza event. Anybody who wants to do anything, the 6 people sitting up here, including you, are the ones who make those decisions. The person who actually mowed the grass was fully aware of it. He's come to more meetings than I think any one of our residents. So he knew people come and ask for permission. So it's much more than a technicality. And the idea that he would do it without permission is a little bit disturbing. The board, and the liability issue is much more than a technicality. It is a real problem, which really can't be solved. If we know somebody is doing something on publicly owned properties, which could create a hazard, I, as the attorney, have the obligation to protect the town. And I did what I needed to do, and I know it's correct, and I would do it again.
Yeah, but
there was some issue about selectively singling out this person, which couldn't be further from the truth. 2 letters went out to people that day. There was another individual who was asking on Facebook or on the internet for people to come with their lawnmowers to the country club and mow the lawn. I sent him a similar letter the same day we sent the person who went out and actually cut the grass. So it's much more than a technicality. It's a board policy.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. But there are other people who cut grass on public property who are not town employees.
Then you give me their names, and then we will send them a similar letter. If you know that, and that was said, and it's really helpful. If you know those people, give me the names, and I'll send them a letter.
Let me just stop you there. There was a gentleman who came to the last meeting by the name of Philip Arnold, who's in charge of the Chestnut Tree Grove, which is town property.
He has permission.
He has permission.
Yes,
right.
Of course he does.
Okay, so
I think it's one of the leases, those leases we give out to farmland.
He has permission.
Correct.
Okay. So is it a question that one needs to have permission to do it?
That's absolutely the
Well,
question.
see, that's
the only question.
solution though.
Yep.
No, that's always the policy.
I welcome the volunteerism. I think we're all on the same page. It's just the idea that we have to have permission.
Off of the penalty phase of this discussion and say, come to us for permission, we'll allow you to do it. Is that a possibility? Or is that
Under certain circumstances,
Right.
you'll allow him to do it. Joe is the first person that every time somebody comes and asks for permission, he will ask the question, what about the liability? What about the
That's the
insurance?
attorney.
Well, he's an insurance guy and a lawyer.
Well, then we look at it, and it's a good question. It's a really good question.
But there's a fundamental question before that is, what does this board want cut over?
Exactly.
Right.
That's the important.
We
Right.
can't just have 20 people come and say,
Correct.
I want
It's
to
gotta-
do. We have to
gotta be.
decide what we want.
I was kind of hoping we could have this report from this ecological gentleman, because when I went out with Adam, he said, you don't want mowers going over there, next thing you know, you've gone over a nest of turkey, something, and feathers are flying, and we'd have a whole nother group
Well,
of
we had
people. that would
mowers
be-
there for years, for 50 years, there were mowers going
Yeah,
there.
but it was never this high.
Well, I
Right.
understand that, but we
This
let
is-
it get that high.
Yes, we
And
did.
so-
Yes,
So
we
what
did.
I'm going to do right now, because I'm not going to say too much, I'm just going to offer for the record
Okay,
the
thank you.
memo that I sent to
Mhm.
Ellen Scalatar with Tony, a former selectman, back in May 18, 2017,
Mhm.
which clearly sets forth my position and Tony's at the time for the record. And I sent it to you guys,
Right.
and
Good.
you've seen it many
Right,
times.
right.
So that's my position.
Yeah.
Right. I was kind of hoping that we could agree tonight to go forward with a mowing plan, but now that I find out that there's a botanist,
Well,
Whatever.
we never, I mean, I don't,
They've
this is
already
the first
agreed.
I've ever heard of that. 'Cause
right,
the
I just
board-
heard
the
about it
board
last
never
week. I've been in
approved.
this thing for 7 days.
That must have been an executive decision and.
Yeah,
and
I didn't know about it
executive-
until last week,
Oh, yeah, because,
right. And I'm not comfortable, it's up to you guys.
well, you know, we don't have to proceed with that because there's a new executive in town. And I don't know whether or not, I don't know how much this thing is
Do you want-
costing. I don't know anything about it because it's the first I've heard of it. I'm just suggesting that
I don't know how
maybe
much it's
this
costing.
board
Do you know
doesn't,
how
It's
much
under
it is, Tom?
$1,000.
maybe this,
$1,000.
but maybe this board doesn't want that information.
Okay.
I
Well,
think he started it already.
Yeah.
He
No,
has
we can
started it.
Tell them to stop and we'll pay you for what you did.
Okay, so
I don't know, I'm just
I'm
suggesting.
concerned about running the risk of running mowers over animals and things that are nesting over there. Maybe there are spots where we could ask Adam, could you increase mowing? If you'd like me to look into that, I'd be happy to do that.
Well, regarding these animals, I mean, I keep my bird feeders filled all winter long, and my wife feeds the squirrels, but the point,
They're on the ground.
yeah, the point,
They're,
the point is, I mean, those animals did not generate spontaneously when the grass grew. They came from somewhere else. And the owls
Right.
came from my street because there was a nest of owls down Whipplewalk Road.
okay, maybe that's where my
summer.
hummingbirds went. I don't
Right.
know.
So they came from somewhere. As far as habitat goes, they can find new habitat if we decide we want to start mowing that.
Well, it's up to the pleasure of the board. I open dialogue on this, what you want me to do. My personal opinion is wait, but wait till we get this report back in the next couple weeks. I'll bring it to you, and
It's only going to be 2
Well,
weeks.
listen, we've waited this long and we've let it get to this point.
personally, I wish we had done this last March
Well, right,
for
there's
this
not a whole lot
season,
of
but here
growing
we are
to be
now.
done between now and August
Right.
15th because it'll be hot and so.
And then next
so-
season, we'll have a better plan in terms of mowing.
But maybe then we can put it actually on the agenda so people know we're gonna talk about it.
My fault.
No,
May 7.
That's not my purpose of
Right.
saying it, but just
Right.
so that it gets on there and we can then have a full
Right.
discussion of what we all think
I'd be happy
needs
to
to
do
be
that.
done and so forth.
Thank
Couldn't
you.
agree more.
And we
I
have
think the
pictures
discussion
out
on
there
the
for anyone who'd like to see.
Sure.
I think some of the stuff should be mowed, but,
I love it.
okay.
Well,
You're one voice.
No.
Shouting
All I'm
in
saying, David, all I'm
wilderness.
Yeah,
saying,
he and I
people have-
disagree on
people
this
have different
totally.
opinions. Some people like it, some people don't.
Right.
That's
Right.
what's happens.
But in terms of policy,
I respect the people who want it to be mowed. I mean,
in
that's
terms of policy, it's the board that makes the policy.
That's
You're
correct.
entitled to your
Absolutely.
opinion.
Absolutely.
Right.
But, you know, it's the opinion of one individual, basically.
Right.
Right, but that individual decided on his own without coming to the board, then it should be
We're talking
mowed.
about, you're liking it the way it is. is what I'm
No,
saying.
but I'm one individual, and I agree there.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna have a different opinion.
Right.
No one disagrees with that.
right, but there's opinions here that matter, I think
The
is your
6
point.
people
Sure.
here matter.
Six of us
So-
matter, you don't count.
Exactly.
And
Jerry doesn't.
I really think we
You
need
don't count on the record anyway.
And I
It's not-
really think we need to keep an open mind about the ultimate
Yeah.
disposition of
Yeah.
that property.
Okay, so I'll get that report in the minute I have it. It'll get out.
But are we,
Can you get a preliminary report earlier?
Can you explain the report again?
I don't think
Because I
so.
think there's folks out in
Sure,
the audience that maybe didn't hear about that report.
Okay. Oh, I
That we're all
talked about,
hearing
I'm sorry.
actually for the first time.
Did you hear my statement? No, okay. I can reread that paragraph because I started before. In late June, former First Selectman Ellen Scalatar entered into a contract for $1,000 with environmental scientists. I believe this recommendation, by the way, was from Louisa Cunningham.
Yes, that's
The
where it
Boom
came from.
Group.
There's a committee.
Best Organic Management Practices. I don't know the
Yes,
whole
it came
name of
from
it.
Coupon meeting.
Something, right, okay, it came through Coupon. William Moorhead is consulting field botanist. He will be conducting a, quote, rapid biological and ecological assessment, which includes recommendations for future care of the property. He is expecting to complete his evaluation by mid-August, trying to get it sooner. I'll keep begging. And I will ask him to present his findings and recommendations at a public meeting of the Board of Selectmen. And I'll get it to you as soon as I get it.
Are we having an August meeting? Because in years past, sometimes we did not. So
I'm planning on it, if
Okay,
that's
I just
okay with
wanted-
everybody. I'll be hated by one and all, but I think we should do it.
Well, I think so, particularly if we're talking
Right.
about this.
And if not, we can make a special meeting for sure. If I get it sooner, I'll try to do that. I'll keep you in the loop on it, I promise. Okay.
So if we're gonna, in the upcoming August meeting, or special meeting, talk about our plan regarding the maintenance and appearance of the club, I think it would be important to know, like, the cost, because you had mentioned having Adam or Public Works go back and increase how much they're cutting. Like, can we have an idea what that would cost the town
I
to
think
increase the
you
plan?
preliminary looked at mowing costs,
We looked
but-
at a cost of an outside contractor mowing it, and we can, bring that information.
Towards it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep, we can do that.
particularly some of the equipment that you would need to do that efficiently probably would need to come from an outside contractor. We don't have it currently.
Well,
Can I just,
I-
go ahead. I'll go.
well, I know we do have large tractors equipped with
We have some.
sickle bars,
Yeah.
which, according to one of the people I spoke to at Public Works, could mow 2 fairways a day. I mean, that was his estimate. He says you have 10-foot spread. And, figure what the cost of that would be. I don't think it would be that much.
Right.
So my question is, and I know we have some mowers left over that didn't go to auction.
We have
I
some,
told him
right?
that,
Adam
so-
said they were in that garage, and I
We
asked
do.
him about it, he said they might be better for parts than actual use. I don't
I
know.
don't know either.
Right.
Yeah, he just
That's correct.
commented
I
to me
just
when
know
I
we have some,
went
I
out.
don't know, but-
Right?
Yeah, the condition's not great.
They're shot, but maybe he could try one or two, who knows?
But the need for an outside contractor at this point with different equipment might be because of the growth,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we had.
Then how often you do it, and
It got so tall, I guess that's what
That's-
these brown,
that's correct.
this is, it
yeah.
went,
Oh, it's
Yeah,
it's waist high. Before it fell over, it was
Right,
waist
okay.
high. I was out there, my dog disappeared.
yeah. Okay. Okay.
So is the plan for us to make this an agenda item for our next
Absolutely.
meeting?
Yep,
And
right.
in regards to the information that would make that productive, is that something we rely on Tony to?
Right, and we'll have this report,
provide?
we'll have,
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
and as I said again in the report, we'll have input from, we'll bring everybody in. Recommendations from the finance director, input from Parks, the Moorhead report, Louise is willing to look at it as well, and then we get to determine what we want for the appearance of the property, both in the short and long term.
Didn't we have someone who was willing to hay it? Cut it for hay?
Can we use it as hay, considering the
Well, you
fact
can
that
use it
it's,
for construction bales, and you can use it for putting in lawns. You can't use it for animals.
More like straw than hay.
yeah,
yes.
because people
You
can't
can't
eat it
use
because
it
there's
for feed.
pesticides on there, right? You can't,
No.
animals can't eat it, right?
No, but when you do construction, you have to put hay
Right,
bales
okay.
down
We
for
could look into that.
erosion
Sure.
and things like that.
Okay.
And then there's another item on the agenda about,
Before we get to that, I'm sorry, just one
okay.
more on this,
no, it's related.
Oh, it's
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, well, let me. I'm
You
sorry.
guys work it out. I don't
I'm
care.
sorry, but, no, I
We're
was
all
just saying, so
friends.
in August, we're gonna talk about maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
But if not then, very soon after, we should start to talk about what we wanna do with this property.
Correct. Yep.
You know,
I agree.
mean, the maintenance is one thing.
I agree. Right.
Okay, so
Okay.
either then or.
And in the
next
meantime,
meeting.
we would ask for any volunteers to come to us with whatever they'd like to do, plant or,
Right, but what crossed my mind later on the agenda, there is some property which is leased by some folks for farm use.
Right.
Yeah.
yep.
They must have equipment for haying because they're growing hay fields there. Would they be interested
Sarah
in?
Farm, the Sarah one?
That would,
No, he's talking about
The,
Santoro.
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 That's a possibility.
I mean, if they're making hay, they must have equipment to do it.
They just moved in last week.
And they're
Who
only paying
knows?
$10 for the use
Welcome
of the
to
land,
Woodbridge.
so maybe they
Okay,
can donate something
sure.
back to the town.
Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you. Now it's, I'm sorry I'm late. It's 6:10, public comments. Anyone here for public comments?
Well, I'll start.
Okay, Phyllis, thank you.
I think you must be tired of seeing me, but some of you haven't seen me in a while. I'm Phyllis Janelle, 30 Richard Street Drive, and I have to say this is not the first project that I have been involved with in this town. I think, Jerry, I know you longer than anyone else in this room. And I think it started with wanting to keep the elementary school open at Center School. I've given a lot, yes.
Wow.
That was my first project in town, the walking fields at the Fitzgerald property when I chaired recreation. Woodbridge Day, I have given my time to the town. And I guess I should now ask permission to work on what is known as Margie's Garden at the Country Club of Woodbridge.
What's it called?
It's called Margie's Garden.
Margie's
It was the garden behind the putting green that the 9 hoers gave in honor of this woman
Phyllis,
who had worked,
there's a garden in the background.
okay, who worked for many years with the 9 hoers. We couldn't think of another gift, and I said, how about making it Margie's Garden, which I have been working on. But I have to tell you, first of all, you cannot really walk that property now. I'm glad the birds are nesting and the animals are nesting, but I wouldn't walk it. And just for the record, when I played golf there were birds, there were animals, there were lots of skunks, interestingly enough. There were owls, there were hummingbirds. I can remember calling a friend in Florida and saying, the birds are back for the birdhouses. There were hawks. So it's not just because the grass is long. There were deer, there were fox. I don't even know what else. I'm not really an animal person. I am a person who likes to walk, and I would not walk there. And it is not, I don't think it's fair to the townspeople to own this property and not maintain it. You certainly can't ride a bike there, even if it were pristine, because of the slope of, say, the 5th hole and the 14th hole. If you've never walked it, now you really, it's a problem. Some of the views on some of the holes are just magnificent, and fall is coming. And to not be able to walk on that property, which by the way I did once you couldn't play golf on it anymore, is a crime. And we are taxpayers in this town, and we deserve to be able to use that property. And I don't believe we can now. It is not safe to walk in terms of what's underneath, the ticks, I'm sure there's a mosquito issue. I don't even know. It's not something I've studied. But I do know that I would not walk there now. And I did walk there when the club closed. And I urge you to consider this property. If nothing else is happening, at least mow it. When I came in early June, I was told it would be mowed. It has not been mowed. And honestly, I'm happy for the nesting animals and the birds and whatever, but I'd be a lot happier if I could take a walk there. And that I really, I feel this so strongly that this is just wasteful, and it's an eyesore. I mean, you may like the way it looks, whatever, but it's not usable right now, and it's not safe to leave it this way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, but I would like to continue to garden.
Okay.
Marchie's Garden. The first time I did it, I came home with the world's worst case of poison ivy.
How does it come to us?
But now, it's
You can
just,
vote on that. I think you can vote it now.
yeah,
Right?
I'm
You
not
vote on it
mowing,
right now?
just gardening.
You
No?
don't want to do it now?
Okay.
It's up to you. guys.
Just for the record, I would like to go back and garden too. At least that's the one spot that, and when people go to the pool, it shouldn't look like it looks. I feel we own it, we should take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Martha
What you
German
got there?
from Johnson Road. I'm a little surprised. Unfortunately, the container it was in broke as I was walking toward the building, so it's a little bit rumpled. But I live on Johnson Road and have lived across the street from the country club all of my life. and I have seen it in various stages of development, and now I would say it looks the worst I have ever seen it. I was gardening there with Phyllis recently, and I also would like permission to continue to garden there because I feel as though there are a lot of assets there that are being neglected, and we are downgrading the value of this property. I would like us today to draw a line between the previous administration's tunnel vision, solely focused on condo development, and a new, broad, open, and transparent vision. It makes sense to begin with an evaluation of the assets of the property. And I have picked out 4 key areas of value. I started with the clubhouse. This building is not a ruin awaiting demolition. It's a strong, noteworthy, but neglected structure that should play a vital role in the town's future. When I asked you, Beth, about your plan for the building, you immediately said, get a steep grant and fix it up. That's a wonderful idea, and it would help alleviate the expansion problems here in the center of town. Imagine the clubhouse as a vibrant center housing recreation, a restaurant, some town offices, and a center for seniors or for all ages. It has the potential for these and many more creative uses. Plant material. That is another neglected asset that we've just been talking about. There are thousands of dollars worth of mature shrubs and perennials now disappearing under weeds and vines. 2 mowings a year do nothing to address this sad situation. As you drive past the property, it may appear tranquil and natural, but there's a war going on. Nature never rests. Let me show you what I mean. Here in my little bag, I have some pretty flowers that I cut on Monday. We have some hydrangeas, nice daisies, some coneflower that are up in that Marge's Garden area that Phyllis was talking about. And up beyond there, there's a whole beautiful line of these hydrangeas that are literally being beaten into submission by some of these other plants. We have mugwort, which will keep away witches. We have pokeweed.
Thanks for sharing.
Yes, there shouldn't be any in Woodbridge at all. We've got so much focus over there. There
Sorry.
is a new invasive to the state called Japanese knotweed, and I have tried to get this out of my yard, and a pickaxe literally bounces off those roots. And then we have bittersweet. That is one of the major vines that's destroying
Is that
these
the vine
shrubs.
that's growing through the window
Oh,
at the clubhouse?
Orange berries.
yes,
Yeah.
and an
Yeah.
orange root.
There's a
And this
window facing the
probably-
green that has
chokes everything.
giant
Yes,
window that
and it goes up
It has
trees.
gone in between the the 2 thermopanes.
It will go higher than a house just climbing up a tree, and its root will extend
Okay.
for yards and yards. And new plants just keep popping up all along that root.
Very invasive.
Yep. And the most invasive of all is our lovely poison ivy. That is growing all over
Very,
everything.
very allergic.
Yeah. And it's no wonder that people won't want to walk there with all of these things.
Are you allergic?
Creeping out
You
everywhere.
just pulled it out and touched
Yes.
it? Oh, wow.
I'm making a point.
Oh. See you in 3 days. When you
So, my point is that while some residents were worried about the use of weed killers on the golf course, now herbicides will be needed to control these invasives. Another point is one that you might have heard before, and it did not get its due, I feel. It is the active golf course. This 150-acre property was purchased as a golf course, and a large part of its value rests on that use and level of upkeep. It should be made clear to you new board members that the property's current designation as open space does not necessarily represent the residents' wishes. There was no referendum. It is a default position brought on by the Selectmen's vote not to renew Billy Casper's golf management contract. Although I'm not a golfer, I believe that management by a golf operator is the best way to keep up the property. It cost less than 0.5% of the town's budget to have the course managed by Billy Casper Golf. The value of their excellent maintenance of the land was certainly overlooked when the contract was not renewed. And the last point I'd like to make is tying in with the volunteerism. It's community spirit. Please don't underestimate the number of residents who love this property and don't want to see it degrade into a tick-infested wilderness. The spirit of volunteerism comes alive here. For a number of years, residents of all ages have come out to help the recreation department prepare for opening the pool. We were not told we had to check with anybody to get permission to volunteer there, and they were happy to have us. From scouts to senior citizens, Woodbridge residents have raked, painted, planted, weeded, and mowed grass of their own free will. Last year, the Garden Club donated plants from their spring sale, which I planted, and the architect of the clubhouse has offered to draw up plans for reuse of the building. Why are we not making the best use of these people who would like to help out with the property? In sum, let us come together now to shape this beautiful property into a place of civic pride and benefit to all. And time is of the essence, or those beautiful hydrangeas will be gone. And that would make me very sad. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Buffy.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay. Thank you. Item 8 on the agenda is the recreation road race, permission to display a banner on the center field. And we have a letter from John Adamovich, which I hope it's pretty simple. The Recreation Department is requesting to hang the 36th, annual road race banners along the Center Road Field fence from September 16th through October 14th, 2017. It's one banner, correct? Just right on the fence. I think they've done this in the past.
I'll make a motion to
Yay.
allow the Recreation Department to hang the 36th annual Woodbridge Road Race banner along the Center Road Field fence from September 16th, 2017 through October 14th, 2017.
Thanks, Joe. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mika. Is there any other discussion? Well, there hasn't been discussion. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're moving on to Tony, Administrative Officer's report.
Thank you.
We got a big batch here.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks.
I'm with you.
So the first part of my report is the monthly report. And so every month I will provide an update on the budget and where we are in terms of the end of the year and any surpluses and or deficits that may occur. So the result for our June 2017 budget year is a budgetary surplus of about $634,000. Now that does not include the $15,000 that Bob mentioned this evening for the Board of Education, and so that could be higher. And so the $634 at the end of the fiscal year, which brings our fund balance to about $5.1 million, which is about 10.83% of our projected expenditures at the end of the year. So generally, as a measure that we like to use for our fund balance, is the percentage of your expenditures as a total expenditures in your fund balance, that ratio. So currently, our fund balance is about 10.83% of our total expenditures for that year. So, we have a fund balance policy, which I believe allows us to get as low as 8%. But 10% is typically where we like to sort of keep the percentage at. It's sort of a good benchmark, and then and we review that regularly. And you'll see in the budget process that this is a budgetary surplus of $634,000. But in our budget process, we allocate $400,000 from our fund balance the budget, and so as a result, an actual cash surplus of about $235,000. I hope that makes sense, but from a budget perspective, it's different from an actual because we allocate 400,000 from fund balance. I know we've had discussed this many times before you finally get the idea, right?
So, Tony, the 10.83% is solid, and how does that compare to previous years?
So
What was the lowest,
it's
what
gone
was the
down.
highest?
Yeah, it's gone down probably to the high eights when we had losses at the country club one year. For 2 years in a row, we had losses upwards of $800,000. That was back.
4 years ago, when I first got on, it was mid-eights.
Yeah, that's
high
why.
eights.
That was why.
So it's creeped back
It's
up.
creeped back up. That was
And the
that was a
country
big
club,
loss.
pretty much.
Yeah, it was because of the country club.
Right.
Another year was low when in 2007 when the market crashed and we lost a lot of interest income that year. We took a big hit that year. So
Mika, if I may say, I'm familiar with these percentages because of some of the work I do. 10.83 is among the highest in the state in terms of the balance. Greenwich may be higher, maybe 3 or 4 other towns, but we're really solidly in the upper echelon.
I think
of all
Orange
the
is
towns.
high.
Huh?
I think
Orange might be higher.
Orange is also high.
I think so, but
We're pretty high. That's very good.
10.83 is not bad. We still have contingency money
I was going
left
to get
too,
to
right?
that. Right. Yeah. And I was going to discuss that when
Last
we.
year
from
and
last
this year,
year.
right.
Correct, from
I
last
saw
year.
those funding requests, I think.
Yeah, from last year. It's about 200 and
10 or something.
yeah, a little higher. So that also is not included in
not
this
in
figure.
there.
Right.
But so what do we typically? I know I've asked this before. I can't remember the answers, but what do we do with that?
So what happened? The contingency?
Yeah.
It'll roll into our fund balance.
We
Really
will.
easy. Yeah. So this could be even higher. I didn't report it in this as a surplus because I wasn't sure where the Board of Education was going to wind up, first of all, and they would have had to use contingency. And we,
But he went red to black,
Right,
so
right.
he's cool. So
So he's good.
are we?
We're
so
done.
We don't have anything else to allocate against
Correct.
that.
I didn't know it as of this report, but
So
you're
we're
correct.
done.
There's nothing else. So that it adds another couple $100,000 to that number.
Right.
And the main reason why we were also very fiscally conservative this year, and tried to really save money where we could, and when we were doing some personnel changes, we tried to, sometimes try to save money where we could, because.
Consolidating departments.
Right,
and-
because we're anticipating, possible state budget cut. So the more we can put into our fund balance this year is the more we'll have available to us should we use it for a budget cut the year we're in now, because we did not budget for any reductions in state aid.
Yeah. So now that you've uttered those words, what do we know about that now? What's
Nothing.
the update? No more.
I know nothing.
Nothing more than what
Nothing
we
more
knew.
than we knew a month ago or 2 months ago.
Okay.
I don't know if I haven't heard
I
it.
haven't heard anything.
No. So we're still waiting to wait and see approach. So if we go through our revenues for the fiscal year, we do have a surplus in our state, mostly state revenues, largely due to our excess cost grant money of $108,000 that was higher than budget. Interest income is projected to generate a surplus of $100,000 due to higher than anticipated rates. That rates have really been going up pretty good this year. And so the budget is, just as an example, last year we collected maybe $30,000 to $40,000. At one time we were collecting about $800,000. So that's how much interest rates have reduced over the years. Now we're back up to about 130 or so. So that's interest income, and we are very restricted on what we can invest in. There's very strict guidelines. Taxes generate a surplus of about $100,000. We had some good back tax collections for the tax office, which were led to that surplus, so that was good news for us. And earlier in the year, we sold golf equipment, which wasn't budgeted. The revenue wasn't budgeted, so there was $70,000 surplus there. So that all ties into the ultimate surplus. Expenditures, we had some savings in electricity and insurance and general administration, about $10,000. The assessor's office is about $10,000 surplus due to a vacant position that we had earlier in the year. Another utility savings is the center building, about $11,000 in utility costs in that building. The police should experience a surplus of about $25,000. They had some vacant positions throughout the year. And so they will actually generate a surplus. If you recall, in the police department, you probably don't, you weren't here last year, but we had some retroactive wages that we transferred for several departments. And we did not transfer police because we were hopeful they would have it within their budget to cover it, and they did. So that's why there's a surplus there. Waste management, $30,000 from primarily lower than anticipated bulky waste disposal that we had this year. Parks Department, there's a $22,000 surplus. We eliminated a Parks Foreman position in the budget process, and so there's a surplus there. The library has about a $15,000 surplus, made largely due to staffing vacancies and some electricity savings at the library. We had renegotiated electricity, and we did well with that, so which is why you'll see that constant theme throughout the budget. The debt service, there's a surplus of $122,000. This was because of the timing of the Beecher School project, and so it went a little later than we had hoped in terms of the filing, the finalizing the project. So the debt service is starting a little later, and that's why we had a savings of debt service for that year. And finally, similar to the Board of Education, we have about $100,000 surplus in our benefits line, largely due to healthcare savings from vacant position changes, coverage changes, similar to what Bob was discussing. So those are some of our highlights, which lead us to that surplus.
Tony, I have one quick question. So a lot of the surplus, the savings that we got were from position vacancies.
Right.
Are any of them expected to be backfilled for the 2017 to 18 year?
So a lot of those we've actually filled. So if we had a vacancy, let's say in Public Works, instead of filling it right away, we would wait 2 or 3 months. And you could wait a few months to realize some savings. It's not a permanent solution, but it's always a good thing to.
But those filled positions are in this year's budget.
Correct.
Those are
Correct.
Considered for.
That's correct. Yep. Yep.
It's my understanding that some of those positions are part-time to fill in for vacation, is that correct?
Positions for,
Like the assessor's office?
in terms of the vacancies, you mean?
Right.
Yeah. So the assessor's office is there's a part-time position in there.
That one's open.
And that's right. That's a full-time budgeted position, but it's currently part-time.
So my question is, do we do any cross-training of other personnel so that they can cover vacations, so we don't have to hire more people?
We generally don't hire people to cover vacations, and especially in town hall, we do cross-train.
You do.
Yeah, particularly for the departments like the assessor's office, the collector, and we try to stagger the vacations so there's always somebody available.
Question, is there a commitment to fulfill the assessor's vacancy?
So there's the vacancy currently in the assessor's office, but it's filled with a part-time position. So that would be the decision of the administration and the board as to whether to make that full-time.
Historically, it's been full-time.
Historically, it's been full-time, right.
But there's a
And
benefit
it's budgeted
to
full-time.
right?
It's been budgeted full-time, right.
There are plans to do that?
We're currently reviewing that.
I'm just 7 days into this, I haven't.
Not bad.
Well, that's
I know, I promise though. I'll
The
revisit.
Lord only took them.
I will revisit it. But Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe. Go ahead, Tony, sorry.
So on this sheet here, you can, if you follow the, just to review sort of the setup of this, the projected line is the last column. It gives you sort of the actual and the projected, and you can follow the revenues and expenditures down the sheet to get the figures we discussed. So net operations at the bottom is the difference between the revenue and expenditure, which just shows you the $634,000 surplus there, and then the impact on fund balance. So it all sort of ties to the sheet. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any other questions for Tony?
If anyone has
on
any
of
questions
this?
or you want to give me a call later date or something, you can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going through this compendium of numbers? No.
No. And if you have any specific questions, you can
Yeah, I had a
call at any time. Or if you have any
I
questions
didn't
now,
bring
you
my
can
sleeping
ask.
bag tonight, so we don't usually, it's more for informational purposes.
It's yeah.
Since I've been on the board, I don't know.
I had a question here on some legal fees.
Okay.
I think one was for 50, one was for 40. those are for,
Where are you? What page?
I'm nowhere, because I haven't found them, but I will.
It's on the Board of Selectmen, right?
Board of
Yeah.
Selectmen.
Okay.
Yep, I can,
Underlined it, but I can't find it. But anyway, one was, I think, for labor negotiations, and I think one was for taxes, is that right?
one is, there's one for labor negotiations. We have a labor person on retainer that helps us with all labor issues.
Okay.
One is for town council, and the other is for outside fees for outside
For
legal
outside
fees.
legal counsel. And how do we select the people who get these contracts for these outside legal?
For outside legal fees?
Yeah, do we put it out for an RFP, or is it?
No, it's generally.
I do that.
Okay.
So you
Town
do-
council
you do
does
that,
it.
you do that, okay, all right. Good to know.
Anything else? Okay, next item is, there's some other flows. Get to funding requests. Sorry.
So before we start the funding requests, there's a summary sheet
Oops.
here,
Oh, yes.
which, to Joe's point, indicates all of the funding requests and transfers we've done throughout the year. It's a nice snapshot of all the different ones we've done. And then at the bottom of the column of the second page gives you the contingency balance. This is the FY17 contingency. So you'll see it's at 271.
Which ended
Done,
July,
finished.
That's it.
Finito.
June 30th?
Done.
June 30th
Yep.
it ended, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Now moving along.
But we started high
We did.
because of the
Because of the contracts.
and all, just,
Right.
okay.
Okay, now we're moving on to funding requests, and the first funding request is for a line item transfer. You all have these in your packet. Line item transfer number 1617-38 in the amount of $6,000. This request is for the replacement of 3 old mismatched desks and conference room chairs that are 30 years old. Please see the attached memo from Chief Capiello for further details. Is there anything you want to add on this, or
No, the chief just had some funds remaining in some of these accounts and just.
this is coming out
was
of?
hopeful
This is last year's.
Yeah,
It'll
instead
end
of requesting
then
it in
June
next year's
30th,
budget.
He had money left over.
If we wait 2 more years, 20 more years on that chair, it'd be an antique. Be up in value.
Okay.
If he was gonna request it next year's budget, but thought that he had some funds remaining, he would do it now to
Okay.
prevent that.
So
Can I just
would
ask a quick
enter-
question?
Yep, oh, okay.
I guess it's not that quick, but we can, so that police budget was left over with at least this $6,000, right? I don't know if there was more, there may have been, but
About $25,000.
Yeah, they got a surplus.
25.
Yeah, that doesn't, the six.
Is deducted from that, so it would
No,
have been
no,
31.
I assumed this and that.
Ah,
So if you say no to this, it's 31.
Got it, that's what I meant, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is really one of more of a specific budgeting type of a question in terms
Okay.
of professional development. My sense is that budget, because I've seen these budgets for 4 years now and they seem to just carry forward year to year. So this goes back to the age-old question, are we doing our budgets right? Because clearly they didn't need this money. And I don't know how many years in a row that's
I
happened.
can tell you that the largest amount, electric street and stoplights,
Right.
4,000, is available because we moved the radio tower from Bradley Road to the free site up on.
And that's fair enough. And
That's
my
where that
question,
comes
listen,
from.
I'm not gonna solve a budgetary problem
Yeah.
with these, but I think I'm making more of maybe a point in terms of how we do these budgets. and
Going forward.
Going
Right.
forward and just not carrying for, hey, I used 1,000 last
Point
year,
well
I need
taken.
1,000 this year.
Right.
You know? That's all. It strikes me when I look at that, that's all.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to approve line item transfer number 1617-38 in the amount of $6,000 from the various lists under police department to police department capital furniture and fixtures.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Was that unanimous?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you. Second item under funding request is a fund transfer request, from Chief Capiello. Please consider this a from, no, wait a minute.
No, that's-
Never
This
mind,
is
that's
good.
related, sorry, I'm reading it and realizing, whoops,
Yeah.
sorry. I'll get better, I promise. Second funding request is dated July 7th from funding request number 1613-39 in the amount of $44,442. This request is for the purchase and installation of the antenna system for the new police tower.
So this sort of ties into two items on the agenda that's coming up, and that's E, which is the state contract purchase of the radio equipment, and G, radio committee update. So, I mean, I don't know if you...
If it's your preference, we could wait till we have that, or do you want to try to do it now?
What contingency fund is this coming out
It
of?
comes out of the last year's.
Last year's.
FY17.
Right, it's on that sheet.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
What's the pleasure? You wanna
So this is
approve it or you
related to
wanna-
those items?
It's related, yeah.
Kind of makes sense to wait for those.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine, I think that's...
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Just don't let me forget.
Yes.
Okay, somebody's gotta be in charge of that. You won't forget. Okay, you never forget. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The next funding request is funding request number 1617-40 in the amount of $9,387, and line item transfer number 1617-41 in the amount of $4,650. Do you want me to read the request while they're doing it?
So
From the registrars, right?
Right, and the registrars, there were several items that, first was the registrars had an audit, an election audit, just recently.
They do those randomly, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
I
For
don't know
some
if you
reason,
had that.
Woodbridge got chosen to have an audit.
If you ever had to do one, when you were...
I don't think I ever had an audit.
No.
We escaped.
So that was one reason. The other was, of course, the fall election just generated more activity and more time than they had originally thought it would. So those are the two main reasons for the, they were able to cover most of it in their budget.
So
Right.
4650 is their budget,
Correct.
and 9387 is
Is the,
contingency from
contingency, right.
last year.
Right.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
What dictates staffing levels at the polling places?
I think that it used to be, when I was there, it was done by determining what kind of an election or a referendum it
Is it-
was, and anticipating, they have to obviously guesstimate how many folks might show up. Obviously, the presidential election, it's gonna be busier, and it's, the registrars agreed, as a Democrat and a Republican registrar, and they determine the staffing levels.
So you have 4 people checking voters.
Sometimes there's 2.
And then you have 2.
It just depends on if it's a referendum or, the Amity budget referendum is 400 people that show
And
up.
then you have someone handing out a ticket.
Yep.
Okay. And then
In other words, you check in and then you go receive a
and you
ticket
get
to
a
go
ballot
vote.
from somebody else.
Correct.
And then you go to the poll,
Yeah.
and then you have somebody checking.
That's correct.
Do we
That's-
need all of those people there? I mean, is it required by law that we have somebody handing out a
By
ticket?
law, I don't know. By
And then you take your
statute?
ticket and you hand it to another person to get a ballot?
Yeah.
I mean,
I have no idea, but we
Yeah.
can certainly ask the registrars to come and explain. I don't know if it's statutorily, it's
that's my
work.
question. Is it
Right,
required by
I
law,
understand.
or is
I do not know
is
the
it
answer
just
to
by
that question.
custom?
Do you know the answer, Jim?
Registrars.
I used to be a
control
registrar, but I don't
election.
remember.
They decide how they run the elections, and they have guidelines for the state how to do it. So Jerry, you know that?
It was that way, and it's been, I mean, I vote in Bethany, that's exactly the way they have it set up in Bethany.
I think they do it all.
And I
think the guidelines is
and I
state
have
guidelines.
some
don't know for
friends
sure.
in hand,
I don't know.
who
Couldn't
have
find
Could you
out.
check
ticket hand powders.
So what do we typically pay poll workers?
So I think it's that way in
I have
all
no idea.
No
towns.
idea.
Just for the
But
purpose,
Tony might know.
I don't know off the top of my head.
for the purpose of just staying on point for a moment, if I could, David. See, I agree with what you're saying and what Joe's point was before in terms of having discussions as how we do our budgets.
Yeah.
I think that's very pertinent, and I think it's very important that we have those discussions with the different organizations like this. But I think for this purpose, we're really just voting on this amount of money, and I'd like to spend more time talking about that kind of thing.
I'm
You know
trying
what I
to
mean?
gather information.
So, and I think we need to do that. I agree with you, but I'm just wondering if it's if we should set some time aside specifically for us to do that, because the budget is something really important. I think we need to spend a lot of time on it.
Absolutely.
And I have a lot to learn on it too, so.
Me too. Okay, thanks, Mika. Is that okay?
Yep.
Fine, okay, thank you. So I'd entertain an approval of funding request number 1617-40 in the amount of $9,387. Can I combine them? And line item transfer number 1617-41 in the amount of $46.50.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. The next funding request is funding request number 1617-42 in the amount of $10,026, and line item transfer number 1617-43 in the amount of $22,482 to fund various deficit accounts in the Fire Commission budget. Department advised the boards early in the fiscal year about the unexpected expenditures, especially in medical expense and repair and maintenance of machines. They have been able to find the funds in other accounts to offset some of the deficits, but will require contingency of $10,026.
So this received a lot of discussion throughout the year, and the two lines at the fire department was primarily medical expense for physicals. They had some new recruits, and they had to do some physicals there, and they had some repairs to their fleet, and so they did a total deficit was up to $32,000, but they were able to find $22,000 of it within their budget. So that leaves a balance of about $10,000. And the Board of Finance in particular had advised that the fire department come back to the board at the end of the year and try to capture as much as they could within their own budget, which they clearly have done.
I think mid-year they wanted to come to.
They did.
They asked for money out of contingency,
They did,
and
yep.
we both, Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, said spend what you have to, and then come back
They
at the
put
end of
off-
the year if you're over.
So you'll see a list of accounts. They were able
Right.
to put off some training.
Mhm.
They were able to put off some purchasing of some tires. They were able to put off some purchasing into the next budget year in order to accommodate that. That's what a lot of those are.
So we can continue discussion, but I'll entertain a motion to fund request number 1617-42 in the amount of $10,026, and line item transfer number 1617-43 in the amount of $22,482.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
So this
on
money's already spent.
Correct. Yeah.
All those in favor?
So, hey, can I go back to the previous one just real quick?
Sure.
Because I'm just confused.
There's a typo on the form.
Well, the memorandum,
The memo is correct. The form is not.
the two forms are wrong? The
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the memorandum.
Because
is
they
correct.
don't reconcile.
Right. Okay.
I missed that.
Yeah.
I never miss those things. Ooh. Good catch, Joe.
The amount changed and the forms didn't catch up
Okay,
to
as
the
long
memo.
as we're clear that it's,
Right.
Yeah, it's
for
the
the
memo,
record, it's
yeah.
the memo numbers that were.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. We did that one. Is that it?
That's it for
funding?
the
Okay.
17. There's one for 18.
Great, okay, now we have a funding request, number 1718. This is out of fiscal year 2018, which will go through June 30th, 2019. This request is the funding of the temporary full-time assistance in the Selectman's office to prepare for and cover during maternity leave of the Assistant Administrative Officer. And I brought this up, if you recall, at the June 29th, when we did the appointments, and
June 21st.
June 21st, thanks, Jerry. I just would like to read this. Betsy Yagla, Assistant Administrative Officer, will begin her maternity leave in the next few weeks. In order to maintain uninterrupted services, as I mentioned at our June 21st meeting, I've appointed Sheila McCrevin to a full-time temporary position to assume a portion of Betsy's duties related to communications, as well as some additional responsibility in Betsy's absence. Sheila began working with Betsy and me on July 5th. Sheila brings more than 25 years of professional work in strategic communications, website development, marketing, and public relations, as well as knowledge of our town and its projects going back more than 15 years attained from her experience on various boards and commissions. She's already familiar with our website's content, management system, and other digital communication tools. I'm confident that we will be well served by this arrangement and ask that the board support this fund transfer. Our constituents have told us that transparency and timely communications are important. It's my intention to increase opportunities to communicate with citizens and to encourage dialogue and input from residents to inform our decisions as their Board of Selectmen. The expanded use of our town website, our printed newsletter, e-news blasts will contribute to that effort. And I have to say, just having been here for 7 days, I am amazed at the work that these ladies get done. And Betsy, just hang in there as long as you can. Please, okay. At least until Shirley knows as much as she needs to know. Okay, thank you. So I'd like to entertain a motion to fund request number 1718-1 in the amount of $15,000.
Make a motion?
Is there a second?
Second.
Now, is there any discussion on this? Okay.
Do we have a duration? I might have missed it.
Well, it kind of depends on when the babies come.
When they come and when they...
Well, that part I know.
You know when they're coming?
I was thinking more of the other
You know when
end
they're
of
coming? I think right now...
No, I mean, I know
Yeah,
that.
I know. Sorry, Joe.
My current plan is to come back at the very end of November.
That's okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if there was some.
So any other discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and this will go to the finance. All this stuff, by the way, goes to finance. Okay, thank you. Moving along. Authorize Human Services to file application for the Youth Services Grant. I remember this from so many years, right?
Mhm.
You know more. There's a letter in our packet. You might remember it too, Joe.
Yeah.
We do this every year, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Nancy Fund, who's the Youth Services Director,
Right.
just received notification from the Department of Education to file the Youth Services Grant, which Woodbridge usually receives. Who knows what's going to happen with the state?
We're
but
surprised.
allegedly
Right.
$14,000.
Right.
So she wanted this on the agenda because then we authorize her to make application for this grant,
Right.
correct?
Right.
So I'd like to entertain a motion to authorize Nancy to apply to the State Department of Education to file a youth services grant on behalf of the Human Services Department.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Any discussion? Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I always forget that discussion part. Thank you. Okay. Now, there's in your packet a memo from Tony regarding an RFP for the administrative and technical support to implement the small cities derived program income activities. And it was a pretty substantial
Yeah,
packet item.
I'll give you a little
Okay,
background on this
So I'll let you take
program.
it
Yep.
in sum, so that nobody...
So we've had 3 small cities grants. The small cities grants is a per-state program that has allocated funds, and then we, on a needs basis, and for income eligible individuals, provide funding for improvements to their house, whether it's roofs, furnace, windows. They have to be certain improvements that improve the quality of the structure, and then the funds are on their land record until the house changes title, and then we get the funds back. So it's essentially an interest-free loan to income-eligible individuals to improve the housing stock in Woodbridge. So we've probably spent upwards of $600,000 over the past 10 years doing this program, and we've had money coming back. So when the money's come back to the town, you can then put it into new houses, new applicants. It's sort of a revolving fund that the town uses. And we have a consultant that helps us do that. And there are also certain eligible activities that you can use the funds for aside from housing. In this case, it's to install a bathroom at the senior center. Some of you might have heard about this.
We've been hearing about that for a
Yeah.
very long time.
So we are now at the point where we wanted to change our consultant just because we felt it was time to change and to go in a new direction with someone who's able to help us in this manner. And so we issued an RFP and we received one response, which is not unusual. There's not very many consultants that help in this area. The consulting work is also paid through the grant. So it doesn't actually cost the town any money. There's a portion of the grant, which you'll see in the paperwork, that we allocate towards administrative costs. So we would like to award the contract to Lisa Lowe Associates, who has a lot of experience. I work with Pat, actually Pat Crisco does most of the work in this grant, so I'd like to give her credit for that. And we'd like to award this to Lisa Lowe so we can start.
Question,
Yes.
I'm just not clear on, so her fee, their fees.
Yeah,
21%, whatever.
right,
So if it's a $400,000 grant, 80,000.
right.
But we get that,
So-
we don't pay that?
No.
In other words, we don't get 400 and keep 320?
No, what happens is we'll get 400,000 from the state,
Yeah.
or in this case from a payback, site,
Wherever it
wherever
comes
it comes
from,
from. And we'll put, 80 into the fee and 320 into another house.
So it does work.
Yeah.
But so it does, so it comes, so if it's a 400 grant,
Yeah,
the 80, it's coming from there, but we're 80 less.
that's right, yeah,
Right, I mean,
that's
it's
correct.
not-
That's,
okay,
yeah,
so
that's
we
what
are-
you're asking, yes.
So the grant is paying it, but it's less money to.
That we have, that we can put into other homes, right. But we need someone to help us. It's a HUD grant, it's very specific
And how-
requirements. It's not just filling out paperwork, it's also the inspections, the bidding.
No, I'm
all
sure
that
it's
stuff.
complicated,
It's a lot
but
of
we've had
complicated-
someone in the past who's done.
Yeah, we had a different vendor, right.
Right. Similar fees?
Exact, almost, yeah. So it's part of the requirement.
This is kind of a
It's sort of a
standard
standard thing, yeah.
structure that.
Yeah.
So I have a question here. This consultant is a member, she's certified by the American Grant Writers Association. And the American Grant Writers Association in their ethics section says it is unethical for a certified grant writer to accept compensation that is a percentage of your grant fund. It is also unethical for compensation to be contingent upon receipt of grant funds. How do we resolve that?
Administrative fees? Is it compensation, or are we paying the administrative fees out of it for the grant application and the project
To
scope?
mainly
Like section 2 on that thing?
Right. They're mainly administrative costs to administer the grant, like
then
housing
surveys.
specialists.
I wasn't aware of that. I don't know how we resolve it, but the state sanctions 20%. That is a requirement to
Correct.
have these kind of people.
And they
Yes.
also.
They know about it, we disclose it.
We did,
So
yeah.
she's not writing the grant, she's not applying for the grant,
No.
she's just administering the grant.
Correct, right, correct. Because we've already received the grant years ago. She's just administering the funds that have been returned to us.
And we can't get a flat rate from her? 20% seems to be a very.
It's actually a little lower than what it used to be. I think it was upwards of 25%. And that state's lowered it over the years. And it's not just,
So that's kind of a standard fee though, that's out there, right?
yeah, and that's the maximum that we would be, 20% is the maximum we would be charged, but it's on an as-needed basis. So you understand, if there's an inspection, we'll pay for the, there's like hours, and, it's all tracked in terms of how much work is done on a project. It's not just a.
So these 3 phases
Right.
can vary by
Correct.
the amount of volume of homes that
Correct.
need to be
Right, right.
So what's the, you said we moved away from someone, and I know we said it and redid it.
Correct.
Obviously.
Right.
So was there a particular aspect, or was it just?
I think it was just time for us to, yeah.
How long had we been using?
Since the beginning of the program,
Oh,
so 2007
okay.
maybe?
Okay.
So the 20%, this 20% is a topside.
Correct,
And I
yeah.
think you just said, so depending upon the complication or the work, the scope of work involved in
Correct.
a particular project,
Correct.
it could be less.
Could be.
But
And then
we
if it's
set
less-
that before that project begin, and how does that work?
So there's.
We don't wait till the end and say, well, you didn't do that much and we're only paying you. So how does
So
it,
I've had experience with the other one, and the state actually looks at the fee. The state.
in advance?
Well, yes, they,
Right.
don't they, Tony? They look at the fees and they approve everything. They tell you whether you.
Within the grant process?
Right, they tell
Okay,
you whether
so
you.
that makes me feel
Right,
better.
Right.
They tell you whether you spent too much in
Okay.
one area.
Okay.
In
Correct.
fact, we had a problem. We had to pay back some money at
We
one
did.
point on one of these things
Alright.
because it was misallocated.
So as part of that grant process, the fee is all disclosed and the state will come back and say,
Very
hey, you're
strict.
over, this fee's too high or this fee's too, okay.
And that's what they do. They can limit it to 20%. They can say, for the work you did, you can't charge a percentage on this
Right.
particular phase of
I
it.
got it.
We've been audited 3 times.
Okay. So there's regulatory involvement
Absolutely,
in that
yeah.
fee.
We get audited occasionally on it.
So this money is then sequestered in one project, and
I want to see what we've done.
well, how would we recover it from the senior center? I mean,
That one we won't, that's
Well, we
just,
won't.
you know, that's an investment that the town makes. There's certain eligible items, and senior centers are one.
Right.
And it just saves us from having to go into our own budget. to do
Correct.
that.
That's just the way it's been.
Yeah.
in grant.
Correct, that's just the way it's written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the the firm of Lisa Lowe Associates for administrative and technical support to implement the small cities derived program income activities.
I'll so moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Help me. Okay. Any other discussion or questions? Sure.
One more question, Tony. Is there a renewal on an annual basis? Is it something that just goes until we stop, or we opt to do what we did here and RFP to another person, or?
Generally, there's a contract that'll go along with this,
Mhm.
and the town council will review the contract, and the last one, they were for 3 years.
Okay.
So that'll be coming.
So we'll have to approve that contract?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're just kind of going through.
Saying
the
Now we're
next
saying,
step.
okay, here's what we're gonna use,
Right.
then we'll put the contract together, and then you'll
Thank
see the
you.
contract. Right.
Thank you.
And this will be for how long? What's the
We'll say
duration of
maybe
the
3
contract?
years.
Generally, it's 3 years.
We'll know when we get the
But
contract, you'll get to see
it's
it.
contractual, you can, I guess, make it for as long as you want. You know,
We'll have to approve
contractual
that.
thing, right?
You'll see it.
Now, if we get another grant on something, will our company be involved in this as well?
This particular grant, I doubt we'll,
If we get a different grant,
we could
if a FEMA grant or a steep grant or a LoSiP grant.
use,
Well, she mentions in her.
we could, she's got that
yes.
experience.
So I suppose.
Does that mean what I'm saying is if we find that grant, say if your office finds that grant,
Uh,
does she get involved in administrating?
Generally,
the grant?
we wouldn't unless, it would be a complicated matter. Generally, we apply for and administer grants ourselves, steep, FEMA, all those.
This is because this is,
This is a HUD grant that
This
has
is
a
a HUD
lot of
grant. That's-
particularly
okay.
rigorous and specialized reporting and training and all kinds of paperwork.
yeah, so it's a
You mess
difficult
one thing
grant.
up.
It's a difficult specialized grant. to
Right,
administer. Okay,
yeah.
all right.
I think we had a motion and a second.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Yes, now we're up to the waiver of 9E, waiver of bid policy, state contract for the radio equipment for the police tower, computer service for town hall.
Okay.
And this is from Tony, and he says he'd like to request a bid waiver for purchase and installation of antenna systems for the new police tower. The equipment cost is $28,485.60, and the installation is $15,956. All pricing is per state contract 14PSX0073. The installation of the tower is funded by a State of Connecticut state grant.
Just a suggestion, should we go to G
Yeah.
and then come back to E and then do the funding
Correct.
request?
I would do it in that order.
Yeah.
G,
Good idea.
then
Just so
E,
everybody
then-
knows.
Is everyone in
Yeah.
agreement with that? Do we need to do a motion, or we can just?
No, we just, I
we can
think
just all
you
agree?
can.
Good idea. Thank you. Okay. Tony's gonna give us the radio system upgrade,
We do the servers on this.
which is, okay.
Want to do the servers?
And the servers? That's the second one.
Yeah.
That's not related to the,
Yeah, we could,
Okay.
whatever you want to do.
so, okay, we'll skip over that and we'll go
Do
to.
the radio last.
Yep, okay. A request from Tony for bid waiver regarding 3 PowerEdge R530 servers. He wanted to request a bid waiver for the purchase of 3 Dell PowerEdge R530 servers off of the state contract at a price of $7,798 per server. This price does not include installation and other services. Purchase of these services will be off the state contract Del, parens Del, and parens 13 PSX 0280.
So, this was a funding request we had in our last meeting, and so this is to purchase the 3 servers that we had discussed at the last meeting off state contract. And generally, we try to use state contracts when we can for purchasing, because we don't have a purchasing department, and so if a state has a contract and it's a good price, it's essentially the state goes out to bid for services and products, and they're buying, say, 1,000 servers, how many they buy in a year, and so we piggyback off that contract. So we do it for police cars, we've done it for paving, we do it for computers, and it's just it's a good way to get a really good price on the equipment. So
What is it? Where?
these are in town hall, and it's our computer servers for our file server, for the assessor, for the tax collector, the building official, for all of our files, all of our programs, the rec track for the rec department.
And it's all budgeted, we're just waiving.
This is just the bid portion of it. It's all budgeted, it's all funded, all that stuff's been done. This is just waiving the bid process, because anything over $10,000 has to either have a bid, a waiver, or use some sort of cooperative purchasing contract, which is what this is.
So I'll make a motion that we waive the bid process for the purchase of the computers as noted in the
Servers, yeah.
servers,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Second.
Servers.
Okay, as noted in the memo.
Yeah.
There's a second, great. Any other discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now where are we going? Radio committee
G.
update, right?
Yeah.
You want to do note sale?
Want
No?
to do the note sale?
Oh, sure.
He just suggested want to do note sale?
Just because
Okay.
this is
You're-
a follow-up to our last meeting, I thought would be a nice wrap-up. We discussed at the last meeting whether to issue bonds or notes for the country club specifically. And the board had agreed that we should issue 1 more year of taxable notes to preserve your options for the property. So we went out to bid, and it's a bid process, and it's a sealed bid process actually. And so we had 4 bids for the notes for the country club, and the winning bidder was Jeffries at a net interest cost of 1.9449. So you can see how close those 3, at least the 3 are. So that means that that interest will be due in a year, because these are annual taxable notes. And we also pay a portion of the principal also every year, which is in the budget. So this is just a thing we do each year to fund the country club purchase. At some point, you'll have to issue bonds, which are long-term.
See. Yeah,
Right.
okay. So that's an update on that one?
Do you have a question?
Yeah,
Sure.
it says premium, and I assume that's like the points that you pay on a mortgage.
The premium is essentially, let's say the net interest cost for this is let's use the Piper Jaffray one, because that's a good example. Let's say they feel that their net interest cost on this, including all their expenses and all that, and what they can get the money for, is 2.0464. But they have a buyer who wants a coupon of 3%. So in order to get that 3% payment from us, which would be a 3% interest payment at the end of the year, they have to give us money in order to arrive at that 3%. So then that's what the premium is. We just net the interest charge. It's just sort of like we get the premium and then we pay it back to them. But it allows them to issue a coupon of 3% to an investor. That's basically what that is. It's just a paper transaction, basically. And so then we had notes for the school, and these are tax exempt notes. And the winner was Eastern Bank at a 1.444. That was the note sale.
Any questions? And that's just a FYI,
Yeah,
right?
just FYI.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, where are we going now?
Radio committee update.
Thank you, finally, I've called it 3 times. Okay, Tony's gonna give us a radio committee update.
So there are 2 parts to the radio committee update. The first is the project for the replacement of the police tower. And Joe's on this committee, so feel free to jump in.
Yeah.
And the police tower, which is right out here, is being replaced, same height, same dimensions, just going to be replaced with a new tower, and because of its age, with a steep grant from the state. And we've approved all of the funding for that with the steep grant and the purchasing and the contracts and all that. The only part that we haven't done yet is the radio equipment on the tower. That's what's on your agenda this evening. It's largely because the grant will not pay for that portion of the project, because the state, if you think about it this way, the state borrows money for steep grants. So as a result, they only want to see projects that have a life of, say, 20 years. They want to see long life capital projects. They don't want us to buy radio equipment that may only last 5 or 10 years and with a 20-year project bond. So as a result, the state only will pay for the bricks and mortar portion of the project. So the town has to pay for the radio portion.
And we had this steep grant for a while, a $500,000 steep grant.
Right.
And and actually it was for the police.
It's for the police station, correct?
Right, but we've had it for
We've had it since 2012.
Right.
And it's expires next year.
Right, and so
Right.
this need came up
Right.
in connection with this
Correct.
overall project.
Right.
It was a good way to find a home for that
Right.
500,000.
Right, and so the 300 and, it's like 302,000 of the 500,000 is for that. So the remainder, there's still a remainder of that grant. It was discussed, I know we've discussed this at previous boards, I believe, or at least we've discussed it, is to use it for a carport for the vehicles, the police parking lot.
I don't know that we ever got that
We
to
never-
the board. We discussed that in the committee.
We discussed it in the committee, and I know the police
I remember hearing
commission
about
has
it once, because
Maybe
it
we
was
discussed
related
it
to
at
a
the board.
Maybe we
snowstorm
did.
or something,
Yeah,
because they were,
Your memory's better than mine.
yeah.
not necessarily.
The police
Right,
commission
Jerry
is,
remembers.
Jerry's got the memory.
yeah. So the police commission has voted in favor of that, and so that's
Favor
of putting in a carport for their vehicles, so that they'll be undercover. Helps to provide, particularly in the winter, when there's an incident. We've had a number of, it's just a little safer as an ice.
And they don't have to take the time to clean out their vehicles to go
Right.
to an emergency, which,
So that's that portion of the radio project.
anything else, any
The-
questions on the radio system?
There's a second part of the project.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. The second part of the project is to the possible replacement of the radio simulcast radio system itself, and that is a system that we put in back in '03. So it's approaching 14 years, and it's a roughly 10-year lifespan to it. And it's the radio system that uses simulcast technology, so that the fire department and the police department can use handhelds and can use car units to communicate throughout the town. It's a series of towers and radio sites that communicate back to the police station. I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, no, that's
probably a good way to.
And not only is it obsolete, but we have holes in our
Right.
transmission and our coverage.
Right.
What was the estimated cost of
The
that?
cost about $2 million.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I remember there being a radio system
Right.
that was.
So that's a more involved project, and the committee is in.
Oh, that's $2 million, including some new site towers and
Correct.
things like that.
Yeah, right.
I
It's
mean,
not necessarily
it's
a
not
like for like.
It's not like, I don't want you to think of it as a $2 million radio.
Right.
It's a whole.
Will the extra towers increase the coverage in
Yes.
those
Yes.
dead
Well,
spots that have
if
been
we did the
identified?
full,
If you do them, that's
Right.
Right, if you do it.
It's a budget discussion.
Right.
And if you want to increase the coverage, and
right,
then you have to pay more.
yeah.
And,
That's gonna come up to us further
and
down
it
the
also
road.
puts the other issue is it adds public works to the
Right.
simulcast
That's
system.
right.
They're currently not on. So
And is EMS on that?
I believe they use a police radio.
Okay, when they're in town, the
Right.
paramedic does, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I
And just
forgot.
to bring that back to this discussion, you're just providing us context in terms
Correct.
of.
That's just context. That has nothing to do with tonight's decisions.
Right.
Tonight's decision is just for the radio equipment on top of the tower at the police station, which is the main tower in this whole thing. It's sort of where all the communications come through.
That's $44,000 that's
Right.
required.
Right.
Any other questions on that? Okay, now we'll go back to, where are we? The funding request of, okay,
Yeah, I'll do that
1617-39 in the amount of $44,442 for purchase and installation of the antenna system for the new police tower. And it will come out of contingency.
Correct.
And it's FY 17.
Right.
So, is there a motion to approve? Okay,
Second.
okay. Okay, well,
Second.
thank you. You got the motion, sorta?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, what have I forgotten?
Purchasing of the radio equipment off the state contract.
Yeah, I was just
Okay,
gonna say.
which is that? G?
That's E.
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 Yeah.
Okay, I'm a kerfuffle here.
I think I have the memo here.
So I can make a motion, I can make a motion to waive
Thank
the
you.
bid policy to purchase off a state contract the radio equipment for the police tower.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. By the time I find it, it'll be tomorrow. Okay, is there anything under
That's
other?
it.
Okay.
Other,
I'm done.
no other?
Okay. Assistant Administrative Officer's Report, item 10.
So I've got
Betsy.
2 items to update the board on that are based on actions taken by the previous board. Oh,
Pull that, Joe.
What?
Please pull over the mic.
the mic.
For her.
Oh, pull it over. Sorry, I'm still.
Her voice is really very soft, believe it or not.
Thank you. So I want to update the board on 2 items that the previous board undertook. The first is a video project. So if you remember, maybe 6 to 9 months ago, the board voted to approve a contract for 2 years with a company called CGI. They're based out of upstate New York. And the company came in free to the town to provide promotional videos for us. They're on our website, and they were just posted on our website a week or 2 ago. We've got 5 videos that are really high quality. I think they did a really nice job, and I would encourage everybody to take a look at them. They're 1 to 2 minutes, so it's not a huge amount of your time, but it's a really great introduction to Woodbridge for folks who are thinking about moving here, doing business here. It's a really great way for people to get a snapshot of what Woodbridge is all about and what it looks like. And that's on the town's homepage, woodbridgect.org. If you scroll down about halfway, you'll see the videos. And the other item I wanted to update you all on is the town traffic authority, which is the same as the Board of Police Commissioners, was requested by the previous board to come up with a streetlight policy. And that policy was approved at last night's meeting, and the policy now guides the installation of new streetlights around town. It outlines where they can go, for what purposes, and there's an application process. And that should be on the website in the next few weeks, I would imagine, under the police department's page.
Thank you, Betsy. Any questions or? Okay.
Were those just street lights or are they also stop lights?
Just streetlights.
streetlights, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you so much. Item 11, Town Council's report, and I see in the audience our newest Woodbridge resident, maybe? Thank you, and Johnny A's here with Pal. Okay.
So this is, as many of you know, Mark Santoro moved.
Do you have the map, by the way?
No, I don't think we need that.
Okay.
Mark
Well, we might
And when
for
John
Johnny
comes up,
A's.
yeah.
Okay.
Mark Santoro moved, sold his house to new owners who are here
Welcome.
tonight. And Mark had a lease from the town for $10 for the period, which expires December of 2017. The lease is non-assignable, so it stopped when Mark moved. And the new owners have expressed an interest to continue that lease under a new lease basis. And we've asked the Board of Selectmen to approve that request, subject to the Recreation Department receiving a strip of land, approximately a half an acre, so it can park cars for a period of time as set forth in John Adamovich's Letter dated July 12th.
So does everyone understand where that parking is,
It's right
particularly
on the map.
the new?
On the map here.
It's on the map if you need to, you understand, right?
You understand?
under the street, the light posts.
Yes.
Right.
So they're cool with that?
Everybody, the owners agreed, and John is
Yeah,
happy
please,
with.
absolutely. Jerry
So you're
got
just
the map.
gonna do the same lease with this new provision
Come on.
for John, right?
Yes, the same lease with a
With the
carve out
provision for John and,
Right.
Yeah, it's a duplicate of the map, so you can show one to Beth, show one to the board, and one with.
You guys passed around, I saw it earlier today, so.
Oh my God, don't touch that table.
what?
What's the matter?
Someone had poison ivy at that table.
Okay. I do have a few questions.
Sure.
About
Just
this.
don't touch the table and then I'll destroy this map.
Thank you for that.
Sorry, Jerry.
Poison ivy.
Well, thanks for letting us know that this issue was on the agenda right away, and also we've had a wonderful welcome to the town of Woodbridge. We are aware of this area. I think our main concerns would be what the implications would be for the lease that the Santoros had as it's written, in terms of liability and also maintenance. Currently, they mow it as hay fields. We could do that until June, which I think the request was from June to August to have this be used as parking for the athletic fields. But in terms of liability, poison ivy being, even one part, I don't know what the implications would be for us as the lease is written. Poison ivy, rocks that might cause someone to trip, things like this. So I think we just want to explore the maintenance and liability issues going forward. I don't know if that would happen this year or
Well,
in future years.
This is, you're required to give the town insurance to show us that you have
Yes.
insurance. So this is only for a 2-month period during the total, I think, 6 months of your lease.
Oh, but it's okay.
I don't think it's
That
gonna,
one's not marked on, sorry, just.
I don't think it's
I thought
gonna
they
be,
marked them both.
I don't see it on there. The dots on it.
Joe, I don't think it's gonna be worthwhile
Those are
to
the
sort
dots
of
that you put on it.
take the insurance off, your insurance off for 2 months and then put it back on in August.
No, I don't think, but
I just don't think, the
But
town
if-
has insurance
Okay.
for anything that we use, and John will cover it under our insurance policy.
right, so I think, if I understand you, I'm certainly not her attorney, but if I were, I would want indemnification language for them for that parking where the town
For that
is.
period of time.
For that period of time where the town's policy is indemnifying.
That's a
That-
fair,
I think that's where
it's a
you're going.
fair resolution.
So they'll have insurance and we'll have insurance, but we would indemnify them.
You'll get a bill from him this week. But that is a fair.
I'm just trying to be fair.
They do indemnify us, and we'll indemnify you for that
you do it
piece of
Okay.
property.
Yes.
And then would it stay in grass as it currently is?
Not related.
John, I don't know.
Guys,
It's over here, David.
guys, here's the map with the
It's over
dots.
there.
Here it is, right here.
That's the
Here, you gotta look
dots.
at it.
It's mapped on that, it's marked on that one, the dots.
John, will you be mowing it, or would it be, would
Well, we would
mowing?
wait until after their first hay. We would wait until after you do your first hay, and then we need it for the 23rd to start the league, and then I would mow it. We would just mow it like that, and then when we leave, it reverts back to you. We're not gonna touch or do anything but mow.
That seems
Fair.
That seems like a very reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, all of which can be in there too, whatever our maintenance obligation is, it should probably be in there, I guess.
Okay.
So you're gonna redo a lease.
We're gonna redo
that will
a
be
new
specific
lease
to you
for you
guys.
that will run from the period of time that the Santoros left until December 2017, the end of December 2017.
Okay.
And then you'll get a notice to come back. Jerry, when do those go out? I forget.
The notices go out in January.
January,
The decision
to
is
renew it
made
if you
at
choose to do
February
so.
Board of Selectmen meeting.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
The
Our
lawyers,
lease runs from
the
March
lawyers in the
1st.
room happy?
Yeah.
Certainly a fair ask.
Do we need it? This is just you're gonna just.
Well, you need a vote to authorize the entering in of a
Oh,
lease. I
with
think you
them
should look at
versus-
it.
Okay.
For the period of time from the,
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that
Thank you, Joe.
that the town enter into a lease with the new owners of that property. I'm sorry, I don't know their names, but
The last name is Holland. My name is Christina.
Christina Holland, and your husband?
Oliver.
Oliver Holland, in lieu of the lease we had with the Santoros, which they've moved away and it was non-assignable.
Right.
So therefore, we'll do a new lease with the new owners.
You're at 48
motion.
Center? Is it 48?
48 Center Road.
Right, okay. You made the motion?
I'll make
second
that
it.
motion.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for coming in and welcome again. Okay. Anything else, Jerry, under town council?
what we have in Sarah Farm is that it's just a basic, there's really nothing.
Well, we
We're gonna
had
put it-
Massaro,
took it
but
off?
we're gonna put it off.
Okay.
Oh, just an update.
I don't have
Sorry.
a concurrence. And the only other, if Massaro is off, the only other thing I'd want to say is that Seymour has signed the lease extension agreement and the amendment to, for the animal control services for the town of Woodbridge. So we have a new agreement with them that'll go for another year with automatic extensions in it. Beth has just signed it tonight, so, and their consideration they're paying is about 10% more than they paid in the past. So it goes from
What
$70,000 to $77,000.
So what percentage is that of the total?
Total?
Because there's still only 3 towns, right?
3 towns.
And we pay
Seymour,
half.
Bethany,
then
and Woodbridge.
Bethany and
Right.
Seymour pay,
Thank you, John.
They pay about a third.
they pay about a third. We pay half.
Right.
They pay a third and
Bethany
Bethany.
pays the rest,
The rest.
roughly. Yeah.
And that's only for the operating expenses, not for any capital budget items.
Correct.
Correct.
We own the building and we're responsible to
Correct.
fix it.
If we want to.
If we want to.
Right.
Okay, I'll take that. All right, thank you. Okay, item number 12 is, we just basically in the past have always accepted the town clerk's report, and there are 2 parts to it, the state town, and one is for the June 30th, 2017. They both are, sorry, what's the difference? What's the difference in these reports, John?
One's cumulative.
One's cumulative,
And one's
right,
just a
right,
month.
Right, okay. And we just sort of, we need a motion to accept the town clerk's report.
Make a motion to accept the 2 town clerks' reports as in the packet, July 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2017, and June 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2017.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, and now we move on to minutes, number 13. We'll never have a month like this again. It's pretty quick.
It's all
Now,
you.
the June 21st ones, the board was not here, so we just accept them.
You receive them.
We just receive them, okay. We don't have to approve them because it's a new board now. Okay. Thank you. Item 14 is we adopt the state affirmative actions for first Selectman Heller's signature. Terry, maybe you just want to explain this for me as I asked you to do. Okay, thanks. Comes up every year.
Every year, in April, we have to, by state, I don't know, mandate, we'll use a better word, state regulations. These are all the affirmations that we have to have in place and have voted on in order to get any grants. These all have to be in place. And when we voted on them in April, I contacted the state and said, can't we just be generic and say first selectman? And then she said, no, the name has to be given. So now that Beth is here, we have to readopt them in her name so that she can sign.
So do we have to reapprove each one?
No,
No.
I will put in there each one, but I mean,
Okay,
you can say as presented, and that's what we did last time too,
okay,
as presented
all right.
in the packet.
So a motion or no motion?
Yes.
We need a motion, okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to readopt the state affirmations for First Selectman Heller's signature as presented in our package.
Is there a second? Joe, second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Item 15 is appointments. We have several openings, actually not that many, 3 left, I believe, that we weren't able to finish for whatever reason at our June 21st Boards and Commissions appointment. And there continues a vacancy on the Conservation Commission, one vacancy to June 30th, 2019. Is there a nomination?
Leland? I'd like to nominate Leland Torrance for that position.
Thank you. Is there a
Make a
second?
motion to do so.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, thank you. You have any other nominations for that position?
No.
Okay. So we'll vote on Leland Torrance for Conservation Commission to June 30th, 2019. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Another vacancy that we were unable to fill, but we'll do hopefully tonight, is on the Recreation Commission to June 30th, 2021. It's one person. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that Chester...
Nomination, sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that Chester Sharp be considered for that position.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Do you have any other nominations for that position?
No.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of Chester Sharp to serve on the Recreation Commission to June 30th, 2021? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then there is a vacancy, at the June 21st meeting, we voted to confirm Spencer Rubin as a full member of the ZBA to replace someone that had passed away, and that was approved. So there's now a vacancy for Spencer Rubin as a ZBA alternate. Do you
I'd
have
like to make a
nomination?
motion to nominate Robert A. Wisnia, MD, for that position.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any other nominations? Okay, all those in
Excuse
favor?
me, who seconded that?
Joe.
Joe.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. There's no other nominations. Is there a motion, we're gonna vote on Dr. Wisnia to serve as a ZBA alternate to replace Spencer Rubin. I don't know when that term is until, probably must be 2 years, right?
Balance of his term.
Balance of his term, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And then the next appointment is, this becomes
Your appointments.
my appointments now. The first one is a Board of Selectmen representative. There are several reps on this investment committee, and one of them is a member of the Board of Selectmen designated by said board. And I would like to nominate Joe Crisco to serve on the investment committee. We don't have to vote on it.
You
right?
just
Okay.
appoint Joe.
Just reading the list.
I'm just reading it, okay.
Yeah.
And does anyone want to understand further about the investment committee? The statute is in, the article, or from the charter or from the ordinances is in our packet. Anybody have any questions about it? Oh, okay. He will be the Board of Representative to June 30th, 2019. And the Board of Finance, I believe, will be appointing someone next week at their meeting. There are at-large members, Laura Ferrante Fernandez till June 30th, 2019, and Margaret Hamilton to June 30th, 2019. And the treasurer is appointed by ordinance, and Alan Rice is the new treasurer, so he knows about that. Liaison reports. I'd like to take a new approach with the role of liaison.
Subcommittees?
Subcommittees.
Subcommittees?
Yeah, first before.
Yeah,
we get to Jim.
okay. Thank you. Okay, so there's 3 subcommittees. Our we did investment, so that now ordinance committee. I would ask Mika, Joe Dye, and I will serve on it as well for ordinance. That's acceptable. I'd like to appoint us. Okay, appoint myself. And personnel committee, I'd like to ask David, Terry Schatz, good one, human resource person, and me. Okay, thank you. Now I'll talk about liaison reports. I'd like to take a new approach with the role of liaisons from the Board of Selectmen to the various boards and commissions. Each of us should stay closely connected to the workings of our assigned commissions and boards, but this does not necessarily require that the Board of Selectmen liaison attend every meeting of all assigned commissions. Mandatory attendance at every meeting is probably not the best use of our time. Instead, I'm suggesting that each of you first connect with the chair of the commission and then follow up periodically by phone, in person, or even by email if you prefer, prior to each monthly meeting to discuss if your attendance at any given meeting is needed or helpful. Then, especially if you did not attend the meeting, I would suggest that you touch base again after the monthly meeting so you are thoroughly aware of any issues. Consistent with this approach to gathering and sharing information, we will make time at our monthly Board of Selectmen meetings, as we have done in the past, early in the agenda to hear about any issues so that we're not falling asleep, because it's always like when we want to get out of here because it's 9 o'clock and we're tired. So I think if we do it early, it'll be a little bit better. Early in the agenda to hear about any issue that you want to make us all aware of. In this way, I think we can limit our discussions to unusual, unexpected, or pressing issues rather than taking up time with routine updates. I would also like to continue to have the meeting minutes of the various boards and commission meetings as we do, published on the website. You can always look on that to see what's happening if you can't reach a chair or something like that. That's going to happen. This will provide a summary of each meeting with additional details for anyone who would like more information. And given that, I'd like to ask Mika, please, to serve as liaison to Recreation Commission, Economic Development, and GATBOC. I'll take GATBOC if you don't want to do it.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. And Joe, I'd like you to serve as liaison to Town Plan and Zoning and the Police Commission. Joe, Di, I'd like to ask you to serve as liaison to Conservation and Inland Wetlands. And David, Human Services and Library Commission. And Terry, you asked for this. I didn't mean this to happen, but you wanted it. Woodbridge Board of Education, Amity Board of Education, and the Commission on Publicly Owned Properties. Thank you. If you get in a pickle with all that, I can cover you. And I will serve as liaison to Board of Finance and also Fire Commission.
May I just make a remark? We will, as soon as possible, get notices out to the chairman and the staffing of all of these, giving them your name, your address, and your email. And if you want your cell phone numbers given, just give me a call and let me know. Shoot me an email. All right?
Okay. And I think that covers everything. I have one more thing under other business. I just found out today. Do you remember Tom Hennick, who is our Freedom of Information, the State Public Information Officer? Given the fact that there's a lot of new members on the boards and commissions, as well as our board and commission, Stephanie Charlotte-Leo, our town clerk, was able to set up a Freedom of Information session, learning session, and it's it's a great thing. It's going to be on September 12th, 2017 at 6 o'clock at Town Hall. And I think you're going to send out a blast email to all of the members.
Around the middle of August.
Yeah, right,
towards
to
the
save
end
that
of
date, because it's very interesting. I've done it twice, and it's great. So does anybody have anything else under other business?
Beth, I just wanted to ask,
Sure.
being new, in terms of, for example, a discussion we started to have as relates to budgets and things of that nature, or adding the country club to the agenda item. Do we do that now under other business for the next meeting, or how is that agenda determined?
Beth sets the agenda, she'll have it on the next meeting.
Call me. If you have something, David sent me something and I called him back, and I'll try to be more diligent about getting it updated as quick as I can. But if you have something that comes up later tonight or tomorrow or between now and our next meeting,
Okay, and
let me know.
we have definitively, we will have the country club discussion next meeting.
Yes. That's going to stay on our agenda.
I was hoping that's what I was getting at. I was hoping we could do that until, okay.
Until forever, until when? Okay, until we say when. Okay.
Can you email that to around so that we can?
Any other business? All those in, motion to adjourn. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
second.
Second?
All right.
Okay.
All those in
In favor? Non-debatable motion. Aye.
And I just want to
Okay,
say that
thank you.
Joe just